Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hard Drive Studios, a show where we highlight creators in a wide range of media people from CrossFit and the sports industry. Today, I'm joined by Erin, aka Erin Murphy Designs on Instagram. She's a known photographer in the CrossFit space, but also does other types of photography, which we'll talk about later. Her and I met at my first Woodapalooza, I think, and ever since then, I've considered her as a true female powerhouse in sports photography. I'm so happy to have you on. Thank you for joining, and welcome to Hard Drive Studios.
Thanks so much. What a nice intro. Dang.
Yeah, I'm
Female
trying to make it
powerhouse, I'll
a.
take it.
Yeah, I think, and I'm saying this genuinely. I think we did meet at Wadapalooza, right? The first one I went to, which was 2023,
I think so.
because I
Maybe
saw
was it the
you. I saw you. Oh yeah, I remember. It was because I was sitting next to you, and I gave you my Instagram or something, my professional Instagram. This was not like a move or anything.
Oh my gosh, I
and
do remember. We were at Tina
and you were
Hill,
like,
right?
yeah, and you were like, you better follow me back. I was
Well,
like,
I
yeah,
think
yeah, don't worry.
sometimes that happens. People are like, ah, yeah, yeah, like here, take it, and then like you follow them, and it gets like lost in the thing. And I was like, no,
Oh yeah, for sure. Like when you meet people at events, like, yeah, yeah, just give me your Instagram. I'll check it out for sure.
yeah, yeah. And then the whole weekend
Recently,
goes by, and you're lost, and then it's like, oh no.
yeah. Recently talking about like giving Instagram, it's just like I think it's fun just to talk about these subjects. Like I was at a CrossFit box in the UK. Some friends uh, asked me if I could like come over. So it's called Blueprint CrossFit. And that's where Amy Kringle. I don't know if you heard about her. She's a
Oh
UK
yeah.
athlete, and
Hmm.
Harry Lightfoot train. And there was this guy, and he was competing at strength and depth. I also was there for that, and I was telling him like, hey, like I'm not filming this weekend, but if you want, like, here's my Instagram. I film CrossFit for a living. Like, if you want to check it out, I didn't even ask him to follow me. He was like, oh yeah, yeah. If you take some shots of me this weekend, maybe I'll follow you.
That's
Okay.
tough.
I was like,
Oh,
dude, I just said like, hey, if you want to check it out, here's my Instagram. Like, that's it. I didn't say like
yeah.
follow me or oh my
Oh,
god. But we'll talk about these types of interactions along the podcast.
yeah.
Just for I know it sounds silly and cliche, but for the people that don't know you, if we can just like trace back a little bit of a history of you, and also because I don't know, some people I've known a little bit about them, like Josie and Justin that I had before, but I actually literally don't know where you come from in terms of like your photography, how you started with CrossFit, etc. So if you want to tell us
Yeah,
more
I
about that.
mean, I guess I don't really like talk about it that much. I was a director of like marketing and social media for like a gym chain in Philadelphia. That was like my full-time job, not like right out of college, but a little bit later. And
Hmm.
photography was always part of that, and it kind of was like the best part of my day. And
Okay.
but I was like, I can't make a living doing that. There's no way.
Yeah.
And because I was like originally, I have a bachelor's of fine arts in interactive and graphic design, so like that's where my background was. Um, and over COVID, I think, or no, it was right before COVID actually. Somebody asked me if I'd do their boudoir photos, and I was like, oh, I've never tried that before, but like, I'm sure I'm game to try. Let's see what happens. And I tried that. This went fine, and then I had like another friend ask, and then somebody else ask, and then I was just in the gym and would take some of those photos, and I had like a couple ideas. I just used to do a lot of like creative shoots. If I had an idea, I'd like get some friends together and do that. And then
Yeah.
one of my friends went to the games. I forget what year it was. I guess it was 2 years ago at this point. And
What are
she's
you
in the
doing CrossFit back
neuromuscular
then?
division. Yeah, so I've been doing CrossFit since 2017, like just like personally
Damn.
on and off. It doesn't feel like that long, but then it does feel that long when I'm still terrible at something and I'm like, it's been too long. Why am I
Should
so
be
bad
better
at
at
this?
this.
Yeah, exactly. There's too many movements to be good at CrossFit all the time. But yeah, she went to the games, and then I had a contact in Fleo, and like I actually asked them, and I was like, "Hey, I'm going to the games. Like, I'd love to like shoot for you while I'm there." And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Oh,
And like
So
that
that
was just
was
like my first like sink or swim. I like dropped in. I had no idea how things worked. Like I didn't know what a media pass was. Like I
what
assumed you
year was
probably
that?
needed something. It was 2 years ago. So what, 2022?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But like before that I started, like over COVID is actually when I started like doing photography more like full time. So like the gym was closed because it's COVID. So and
Yeah.
Philadelphia was one of the super last ones to open it without masks on, and people just didn't want to work out. So like I was kind of like half in, half out of a job. So I started my photography business after that, and then kind of once
Yeah.
we came out of it, I think I just finished my first year full time photo.
Okay. Congrats.
Thanks.
Yeah. It's a big step,
Fun.
like going full time. I know I remember like I was traveling a lot. So I studied film in film school, and then I worked in TV and everything. And then I quit completely my job and left to travel. And I lived in London, Australia, all that stuff. And I was just doing small jobs. And then I came back and I was like, okay, I really want to be in media, like do media on my own. But at first I had to get a part-time job because it was just like, not enough to make a living.
Yep.
But I was kind of already coming from a place of like, doing small jobs, like not being really secure financially and stuff like that. So I was kind of like used to like the grind and like being uncomfortable. But like I can't even imagine how it is to go from like having a full-time like secure job somewhere that gives you like security and stability, and then decide to just jump on that train, like was it scary at first or
Oh yeah, it was terrifying. Um, Luckily, like I have parents that are super supportive, and my mom actually is like kind of in accounting, so she could actually help me go look at my finances and be like, okay, can I pull this off? Because everyone's like, you don't make money your first like 3 years.
yeah,
So it's kind of like, do I have enough savings to put me through 3 years just in case that does happen? And so that's kind of why it was like, and then after COVID, I'm sure everybody felt that. I was like, I just don't like, I can't go back to an office. Like, I just
yeah,
don't think that that's for me. I was so miserable in my last job, like, honestly. So that's why I was like, I got to try to make this work just like once, just to see.
yeah,
And I'll be perfectly candid. Like, it's still tough. Like,
yeah.
having your own business, as you know, costs a lot of money, surprisingly,
For
even in a
sure.
lot of time. But yeah,
Yeah, man. Like I've been doing this full time for a year and a half now, and I had to. So like at the games this year, I had to shoot some behind the scenes stuff, and my directional road mic just bailed on me. It's not working anymore. And when my friend Anders Malm, who was working for CrossFit Media last year at the games in semifinals as well, he's a great photographer from Sweden. He's a friend of Josie as well. He had like one of those mics. I was like, hey man, like this year at the games, I have to shoot some BTS. Like, can you like lend me your mic? And he's gonna like send it to me over email, over
emails.
mail. I was like, whoa,
That'd be an impressive mic.
because I can't afford to buy it, and I don't have enough time to rent it before leaving to Texas. So like, man, like it's a struggle. I feel you. But
Yeah.
with CrossFit, so the first time you went 2022, was it like love at first sight with the sport? Like how was that first games experience for you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is one of those things where I don't know if I had that moment then, but I have had it at the games. I don't know if it happened last year, but like I think the first time I went, I did it and I was out there probably like the third day, like sweating my ass off, as we all did, like out at North Park, like
Oh
on the
yeah.
edge, just like, and then chasing the teams down the field, back and forth. And
Did you have to shoot a lot of people? How many people did you have to shoot?
I think I had like 3 team athletes and then 1
Okay.
individual. So it was like Christine, Kelsey Keel, Kelly
Oh yeah.
Baker, and then another team's athlete. But so teams, you're running back and forth like quite a lot. And so I would be
Yeah.
like probably the only one like actually sprinting after everybody because I was like, I gotta get the
Yeah.
shot. And I still do that.
Did you
But
I was just, sorry, I'm just curious. Was there a lot of women shooting back then?
There's actually a good chunk. Not that I was, like,
Yeah,
surprised, but, like, a little bit. I don't know, probably, like, group-wise, like, it was definitely, like, 20 to 80%, like, 20%
yeah,
female, a lot less, but I definitely met, like, a bunch of the ladies, which was nice.
yeah. I think it's funny because in my mind when I started photography, I always, it's a preconceived idea. I always saw photography as like a girl thing and
Mm.
videography as like a guy thing.
Oh,
And
funny! I don't realize that.
really,
Alright. Yeah,
so like
yeah.
more often than not, I see girls photographers, like Carly and I see more guys photographers. I don't know why. Um, but do you
Yeah,
do some
kind of.
photography as well? I know you do bursts, which is you do really cool bursts, by the way. I love when you do that. But you do video as well, or
I, like, just started, doing a good chunk of video. Actually, at semifinals was, like, my first time doing, like, half video, half photo. Um, I just, like I had a couple people tell me, like, "You kind of have to do video to, like, make money, essentially." And
yeah,
I don't believe that. I think, like, depending on, how you put yourself out there and what you wanna do, plenty of people have talked about it. Photo is still my true love, but I was like, I'm open to trying video, like, there's plenty of moments when I'm sitting on the end, I'm like, "Oh, that would've been a sick video."
yeah.
So, like, I was like, "Let's try it." So we
What do
did
you
a
shoot
little
with, by the
more.
way?
I shoot with an R6 Mark II Canon,
Okay,
and then an R because that's, like, my, like, backup and secondary. I can't, like, really shoot video on there. You can a little bit, but the resolution isn't as good.
yeah,
But yeah, I was, like, doing some video and then, documentary style. You know Jonathan Ortega?
yeah,
Jay Tega? Yeah, the one with the
yeah,
mustache.
yeah.
Him and I have worked together before, and
Love this
he
guy, by
kind
the
of
way. He's such a
yeah,
good vibe.
he's such a good vibe. He's such a good time. He actually came out one of the times we bonded was he came out here. He wanted to learn more about, like, photo for weddings, and so he came out here, he's like, "Can I second shoot with you?" I was like, "Sure, I guess." So he came out, and I was like, "This was a great time." But, yeah, then we started, like, working together with, like, a couple other things, and he was like, "Hey, like, would you wanna do this, like, behind the scenes kind of vlog for Area Alone with me?" Because we talked about doing them, and he one night was just like, "I'm just gonna text her," and I was like, "Do it, you won't." And he, like,
Oh, he had her
just, like
number.
well, not, like, text her, but, like, DM'd her. Like,
Oh yeah,
he
okay,
just kinda
gotcha.
was like yeah, he was like, "I'm gonna do it." And I was like, "Do it." And then he was like, "Oh my god, she said yes." Like, and I was like, "Really? That simple?" He's like, "Yeah." And so he's like, "You like, obviously, like, you're gonna do it with me." And then, we had pitched to do like, Sprague for another project, and he went with
Hmm.
somebody, like, closer, which is fine. So
Yeah,
then it came back to semifinals, and he was like, "Yo, I wanna do, like, a vlog, will you do it?" And I was like, "Oh my god." And so we were like, "Okay, we have 2 vlogs, and there's 2 of us at the
yeah,
same place," and we were like, "Crap, but alright, like, let's go." And that was,
yeah.
like, my
I saw
first
some of
time.
them. I liked it.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was,
that
like,
is
my
really
first time
cool.
doing that stuff, so video, I hit hard with video.
Yeah. Yeah, but you got at some point you gotta go in the lion's den and just like go with it, right? So that
Yeah.
was at the West Coast, right? West Coast Classics.
Yeah, yep, and then we had
Yeah.
another athlete at East, that actually ended up falling through, so, we both just had, like, other individual clients that we ended up shooting, but, it was
How
still a good
was
time.
how was West Coast, by the way? Because obviously I was just
I
at French
had
Showdown, so
Yeah, I had a great time at West Coast. I know that there wasn't a lot of people there, and it did, like, kinda break your heart a little bit for the athletes, but, like, the vibes were a great time. It kind of felt a little bit like Wadapalooza vibes just because there was a lot of space you could, like, go interact with athletes, like, as fans could, you were around there. It didn't feel like, like an East, you were just very, like, separated. Like,
yeah.
fans were up top, athletes were the bottom, there was, like, nowhere to talk to them, and it was very serious. Like, you could feel the tension in the room when you got to East Coast. It was
Yeah.
like, "Oh," and then, like, West
Yeah.
Coast, everyone's still, like, having a good time, hanging out. Like, we were at the briefing and everyone's, like, talking shit to each other, so it was.
Yeah. But that's the upside, right? I don't think there's like a bad or good like type of semifinals. Like for me, French Throwdown. was, I mean, it's not to brag or anything, but I think it was one of the biggest semifinals in the world.
I
We had like
agree.
over 8,000 people in the arena. And Victor and Claudia like were performing really well all weekend. So the French crowd was just going crazy. It was just like madness. But Access was shit. Like, well, Access is not shit. I don't want to sound ungrateful. I was working for Brian back then, and I'm grateful for the access I got from him. But they closed down the front of like the finish lines because there was like the gold VIP seats or whatever.
Mm.
So the gold VIP seats were like too close to the actual floor instead of being like a bit up. So like they closed the entire finish line, so
So you
you
couldn't
couldn't get
get
any
any of
finish
those,
line from the front,
which
and
is
it was
like
like
the thing.
it was quite stressful, and it was more, it was good vibes, like hanging out and everything, and it was more work than anything. So I mean, I bet like another side of the coin, like where it's more chill and you can hang out and have fun, must be really cool.
Yeah, that was interesting too, is like it was just like the tennis stadium. So the seats were like right up where like they had a media section, but we were free to roam. Like we could take photos anywhere. You could go anywhere and just obviously don't be a dick and stand in front of somebody with a giant camera trying to watch. Like, don't do that. But even like from the very top, you could stand like in the back and like shoot down, and it was like actually really good shots,
Yeah.
which was super cool. As you know, like Wadapalooza is not like that. You're kind of like, okay, got my spot. That's it.
Yeah. Every year is a challenge at a competition, but I don't know why I have like a love-hate relationship with
Oh,
Wadapalooza.
same. I know.
It's like so much fun. The vibes are, even when it was raining, I was like, fuck it, like,
Yeah, I think
it's
you and I
like
were the only ones out there. Like, all right, I'm still having a good time.
it's what it is. Everybody had their raincoats on and everything.
Yeah, yeah. You can't
But
help but
on the other
laugh.
end, like honestly, props to Sasha for like the work that she does with media. Like I
Yeah,
think it's easy
100%.
as like creators to like complain about access, like all that stuff. But like I was saying that to like Josie as well. Like I wouldn't pretend to even know how to run an event like that.
Yeah, me neither.
So yeah, it is just crazy. Like I was also really sad to hear about what happened to Dylan and his and that other girl that I haven't met with
Mhm.
their stuff. Like it's so hard to run an event like this. Like you have so many things to think about. So like I've learned, like I've got my own little branding now. Like make lemonade, you do with what you have, and in
Yeah,
the end,
you
you
kinda
you
have
get
to in a
cool.
new sport.
Yeah, exactly. So you shot some BTS for Sprague and Ariel. Was that for them specifically or for a brand or was it for Spin?
Oh, that was for them specifically. That was their YouTube channels. They wanted their own stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome that they reached out that like they were cool with like you guys doing it with them. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that kind of makes a difference rather than working for a brand. Like, I've done that before, and you kind of feel like you're bothering them, that you're
Yeah.
trying to get it for them, and so to
Yeah.
to be like, "This is for your YouTube channel," which is, like, really helpful because then it was like, if we ran away like, missed them or something, you had somebody's number to be like, "Hey, like, we need to get your, like, debrief on that workout," and they want to. It's not like they feel like, "Oh, I got the next event," and you also don't feel like it's, like, a
Yeah.
bother.
Yeah.
So,
And
like, that was super helpful.
I think, like they'll open up more when they feel comfortable with the creator as well. I think there's
Mhm.
like in these days a need for more BTS, with that documentary that Hiller did on Haley Adams and, like all these little documentary like popping up everywhere. I got my friend Patrick from Finland who did something with Yonikoski.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
cool.
Yana didn't make it to the games, but like they were doing like a road to the games thing. And I feel like there's like a void since 2019 and media got fired. I feel like there's like a need for like creating hype and following these athletes up until the games that kind of like stopped when this stopped doing those documentaries. Because if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, the new documentaries that come out, it's more like at the games rather than like prepping to it.
As far as I'm aware too. And I think it's so simple. Like that's what I've talked about where people say the sport isn't growing and whatever it is. Like I just, the reason I got into the games itself was those like road to the games things that Heber Marston did. You know, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, now I care for these people. It's the same reason Formula One has blown up like it has. You know,
Yeah.
like they put out the Netflix series and everyone was like, oh, I'm like rooting for this team or this like coach or like, you know, this athlete. So, you know, I think it's
I,
like almost like simple. Just make people care about the people in the sport and there you go.
Yeah, and I think that it's silly, but every single person I talk to, either a creator or an athlete or someone in a CrossFit box, like literally 80% of them like told me, "Oh yeah, it's because I saw that documentary."
Hmm.
It's crazy. Whether it's like, "Oh yeah, it's because I saw that video that you did with this or that," or "Oh yeah, I saw the fittest on earth," or "I saw this and that, and it made me want to join the box, and it made me want to like start CrossFit." And I think it's just it goes to show that like if you want to drive people to like you know get a membership to an affiliate to get interested in CrossFit and the mythology to follow these athletes and buy tickets to semifinals and games and everything, there needs to be media.
Yeah,
It's funny
surrounding it
because
for sure.
I was listening to like one of those million little podcasts Castro's doing right now with each athlete, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I need to listen to some of those. I haven't as much as I'd like to.
They're really short. Like props to him for that. It's super easy to listen to.
Hmm.
And he's really good at there's no um like silences. He's really good at jumping and like really and asking like questions and like getting the athletes to like to talk. So like those are really cool. And at some point he was talking, I don't know which athlete he was talking to. He was talking about documentaries. The was it Right to Survive? That thing you were talking about?
Oh yeah,
Uh
yep. The
yeah.
Formula One documentaries, yeah.
I have to watch that. I've never watched it. I've never
You've
been
never
into F1.
watched it?
No. And I
Oh,
live in the
my,
Netherlands.
yeah, right? That's why I was like,
We're,
you of all people.
well, they have Max Verstappen, like so. But I have to
My
watch that. But
favorite.
anyway, Castro was saying like, yeah, he was saying, and I was like screenshot it, and I was like, oh, I'm curious what they're going to do. He was saying, oh yeah, we're trying to do something with CrossFit, and he was about to say people like the specific names, but then he said, and a group of people to do something with media this year.
Mm,
So, you know, we'll see
yeah.
what happens with that. I wanted to ask you, how did you meet Brian, Spin, Barbell Spin? Like, how did you guys start working together? Because for the people who don't know, Barbell Spin popped up like a few years ago, and now it's become one of the biggest CrossFit news outlet in the world. Basically, people go for
Hmm.
Spin for most of their news. Um, how did that start?
Brian slid into my DMs.
Oh,
No, but it's like seriously, I was like, I think I was going to the games last year, and I actually didn't have. I had a ton of age group and teens, but I didn't have. And then I had like maybe like one brand or two brands, and I was like, look, like it's like really expensive to stay or something
yeah.
like that. And I don't know if like he was talking to somebody else, but all of a sudden I just get a DM from Spin that was like, hey, you want to shoot for me at the games? And I was like, yeah. And like that was it.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, it was I like to this day I'm still not sure like if he just like found me. I guess I should probably ask him. I think I was just so excited. It's just like,
I
oh,
mean, you shot some stuff before like previous years, and your work is great. So
thank you.
that's the answer probably.
I
Um,
hope so. That's what you hope.
yeah, I love the stuff that you do outside as well with the athletes with Kelsey, like the studio stuff that you do as well. I think it's really cool.
Thanks.
I wouldn't even know how to do studio photography. Do you still do that a lot on the side?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's yeah, it's just different. Like so I do everything like weddings, engagements, newborns, and then I do a lot of boudoir, which is in my studio. I have one that's like 20 so minutes from me or so. So I was doing that and some like product yesterday and lifestyle, so that comes along with that. I still use a lot of natural light. Like I have some lights. I try not to use them unless I'm like going for something super stylized. And I understand the benefits of it, especially like if you have to go back and reshoot and you need to combine two photos and you don't have the same light that day. It's like SOL.
Yeah.
But like it's just my style. I like to use natural when I can. But yeah, it's studio photography is a whole other thing. Having to pose people rather than like capture the moments. Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of have to be like a director, just like a movie director, but with photo. You have to help them out, and because I
Well,
haven't
yeah.
done
I mean,
studio
I still wish
photography,
I could
but
do.
I've done brand photography and videography.
Hmm.
Where like yesterday, for example, I was shooting for like accessory brand in the Netherlands
Hmm.
that does CrossFit accessories, and I kind of had to like direct the athletes, like, okay, can you go here and move here and do this and that, and it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it is. It's a totally different ballgame.
Yeah.
It's
Do
tough.
you,
I'd like have a lot of room for improvement, even personally.
do you enjoy doing that like more, or is it like totally different for you?
I think it's totally different. Like I just like a challenge, but I think there's something about really like the love for shooting events like we were talking about earlier. Was there like a moment or something when I was shooting at the games? I think the first time I went, I was like, okay, this is what I like want to do. I was like, this is where I just like feel like, you feel like you're in the right place, right time. You're supposed to be there. Like you're happy, even though you're like running on 2 hours of sleep for like 7 nights in a row. And, I was like, no, this is it. And then last year, I had a moment again where I was like, I think I'm kind of good at this, which is,
Yeah.
like a weird sensation to have. I think my generation, we're just like beat yourself into the ground kind of thing. Like, if you're not kind of self deprecating, you're not doing it right. So,
Yeah.
to be like, I think I'm okay at this, like that is amazing.
Yeah.
And to like capture these moments for those people is like really cool to like, I like capturing like video is like fun in that way, but for photo, I'm like, can I capture the moment of their emotion and like what happened and the vibe all at once in a still is
Yeah.
like kind of the challenge that I go for. And I really love like getting to do that. The other side of, studio and posing people is like I like the natural vibes too. So like how can I pose people to look like a moment, that's
Yeah.
similar to that. But it is still a little bit less of like it's just like a different challenge. And I think emotions kind of get to you at like events. I'm sure like you start shooting somebody, especially if you're shooting for like a couple specific athletes when they get a win, you're like,
Yeah.
you can't help it.
It's it's funny because you're talking about the fact like capturing. Am I able to capture like all those emotions in one still? And I think it's one of the things that um kind of like slowed down me starting photography, because I started photography last year for the first time.
Mhm.
I'll always be a photographer at heart. I went
I
to
thought
film
you were doing
school.
photo longer. I don't
No,
know why.
no, no,
Oh,
no. And then
dang.
Josie's always making fun of me because he's like, dude, you're good at this. Like, don't lie. You like photography better now, right? And I was like,
Oh, it's the constant battle between the videographers and the photographers. You're like, oh, I'm having FOMO of one or the other.
yeah, yeah. But like one of the biggest fear, because I always told myself like, yeah, but you can catch so much more with video. Like, like you've got so much like a bigger range of motion to like capture that moment and the emotion in motion. Um,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I guess because like maybe internally, subconsciously, I was just scared to be like, fuck, like how am I gonna do to like transmit all those emotions in just one still, like catch that moment. But in the end, you can't. It's just harder, and I think that takes skill. And I think something you're really good at. I think Carly is something she's amazing at as well.
Yeah,
She's one of
it's
the
really great.
photographers that I really look up to as well.
Nice.
She's going to be on the show, by the way, as well. I've never talked to her, so like I'm kind of nervous
Oh,
because like
fun.
yeah, yeah,
She's
I have
super
this
sweet.
whole
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen her a few times just on the sidelines, but we've never like properly talked. So that's also why I do this podcast, just to give it a voice. I got this idea from Carlos Bound when he started
Mhm.
Content Lab on his own channel, and I was like, hey, you know what? I want to do the same and talk with friends and chat about our jobs and stuff like that. And I'm so happy about the enthusiasm and like the like about like people around that podcast, like people, like I have like probably like 30 followers on the Hard Drive Studio page, and like, I think it helped a lot that Josie and Justin like got on the show as well, of course. But Carly was like, I'm in. I messaged Heber and he was like 100% in. And I
Yeah,
messaged,
of course.
and
We
tomorrow
all
I'm
just
talking
want to
with
chat. Our jobs are weird. We want to like share it with each other, you know?
yeah, tomorrow I'm talking with Lauren Khalil, and it's gonna be
Oh,
fun, man.
fun.
But
Love Lauren.
um so you start shooting for Brian, and now do you have like all year rounds, what do you say takes the biggest amount of your work time? Is it because, obviously we've got events, but obviously that's something I'm trying to do, is like find stuff to do outside those events, because like from Wodapalooza to semifinals is quite empty for me. So like, what do you do
Mhm.
on the side? Like, how is that, like mixing sports photography and all those weddings? Like,
Marketing.
yeah,
Sort of. No, I mean, yeah, just like having your own business, you still like you have to do your job while also trying to get more work, which is like sometimes half of the battle. But no,
yeah,
my like in between is yeah, the like portraits and such, like engagements. Wedding
yeah.
season starts more in September for me. I have one on Friday. Heather's actually coming to town to shoot it with me. And then yeah, that's kind of like mainly it. And then like product here and there. I started doing a lot more lifestyle and branding, and then similar to um I don't know if you've seen some of my stuff that I've done with Cash App.
I
I've
don't think so.
yeah, so I got hired by Cash App last year a couple times to go do, and it's kind of similar to events. I
For
went
those who
out
don't know, what's
to
Cash App?
Cash App's like a Venmo, but like it's just
Okay,
like a different system.
gotcha.
Um, yeah, and it's like exactly the same thing. It's just like another one.
Okay,
But they hired me to come out to like some concerts. So I did something in the Water Music Festival. So like you get
sick.
to go, and they usually have some type of what they call like in terms of it's an activation. So a spot where they have purchased, they've set up this thing, and they, to get new clients and new business. And so they hired me to photograph that and to also just capture the event as a whole. So then I actually got to go like kind of in the pits and, shoot, Jonas Brothers, Skrillex, like stuff like that, which is something like I never thought I'd be able to do.
That's
Kid Cudi,
awesome.
I got one of my favorite photos I've ever taken was a photo of Kid Cudi, and you get to be in like the music pit right there in a like concert. Like there's nothing like it. I mean, I'll
Are
be
you allowed
honest, I
to
don't.
post that on your own page?
Yeah, I have a couple of them up there. They're just
Okay,
deep down.
I need to check this out. Okay, so my one thing is I go through periods where I mute all creators to kind of like reset my creativity. Because the
Oh my
thing is
gosh, I
like
understand that.
sometimes, and we can talk about that as well, like you can get overwhelmed by everything that's posted, and you can like I'm very
Mhm.
guilty of comparing myself a lot. And forgetting that I have my own style and that it's fine and I don't need to be like these other guys or whatever. So I go through periods where I literally like do the mute thing, mute post and stories of all creators, um to like focus on my own thing. And
Yeah, I
obviously there's
100% get that.
nothing wrong with getting influenced by other creators, but sometimes it can get to your head. But so
Mhm.
I end up missing all these things. So I'm checking out your Instagram, but I'll have to check that out. But that's
Yeah, I
really
think it's
cool.
like I actually have one of the, like, Jonas Brothers photos here that I haven't put up
Oh
yet.
shit.
I like to, like, put up a bunch of things, but, like, I think it's
Oh,
yeah.
sick.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a guilty pleasure, but like I grew up like watching Camp Rock and like
Dude, the Jonas Brothers were so good. Honestly, I was like, I mean, I was the Spice Girls era, so, like, that was mine, and then I just did not think I would like them as much as I did in concert. I was like, "I'm having such a good time."
yeah, dude.
You
I
know?
mean, I used to watch like I'm was born 95, so I was still like a big Disney Channel kid. So
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
I watched
Yeah,
a
that's
lot
not
of
much
that.
later than me.
Are they
Yeah.
they still look like they're freaking 22 years old.
Yeah, I don't really understand it. I mean, they didn't sing a single word, I don't think. I think it was all recorded. And it happened a couple times, like, being in those, like, music pits, you get to see the little, like, mistakes, which was
Yeah,
interesting, and look, I'm gonna be honest, they're performers. They're, like, running around
yeah,
singing, dancing on stage. How do you expect them to sound the same? Like, it doesn't bother
yeah.
me that they're doing that because they're still
Hmm.
performing. But, like, Kid Leroy was there and, like, watched him,
Yeah.
the music started, and then he pulled up his mic and he was like, "Whoops." You know?
Oh
It's
shit.
just one of those moments, yeah. But, like,
But
yeah,
let
so
me.
with, like, Cash App, I did that one, and Kid Cudi was there, and he was so good, it was so great, and then they hired me again for, Summer Smash, like, a Lyrical Lemonade concert in Chicago, and he
Mhm.
was there again, and he was there. So it just, like, it
Oh,
kinda just, like, goes to show, like, and it 100% has to do with, like, sound check and things. You know, it's
yeah, and it
just like I
just.
don't think his mic was off compared to, like, what he was used to, or maybe he was tired, I get it. They can't all be winners.
I mean, they're just like human beings. I was just at
Mhm.
Morgan Wallen in London. In
Love
London,
him, yeah.
yeah. So he's doing like a Europe tour, and let me tell you, it was not. He was singing. It was not pre-recorded, like because
It
he came on the first few songs, like his voice wasn't like there yet, and I was telling my friend like, oh, actually that sounds pretty
oh,
bad
no.
compared to like, oh no, like is he one of those, where he sounds terrible live, and then after a
Yeah.
few songs he just warmed up his voice and then it was freaking amazing.
Mhm.
So
Hey, it's like
you just need
anybody
that.
else, I get it.
Yeah. So I wanted
Yeah,
to talk
but
about something that we talked about earlier, and it has to do with mental health in our industry. We're not going to go too deep into like whatever because we're not psychiatrists. I just want to talk about that as well, because you were
you're
saying like
not.
you were like running around at the game, like like running on 2 hours of sleeps and energy drinks, and just like I just wanted to get your thoughts on the grind culture, and kind of like beating yourself to death to get the shot, to get the first edit put out, or all that stuff. Like, what's your view on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, I'm not gonna lie to you, and I think it gets to me more than I would like it to sometimes. You have to, like, send a reminder to yourself, a little bit of the grind, and then there's the social media, like, I do that every day, open Instagram, and then I'm like, "Oh, that shot's so good," or like, "Oh my god, they're getting so much more work than me," or something like that, and you just don't know, like, people probably look at my page and they're like, "Oh my god, she's so busy, she's doing all these things." Because 'cause I've had people say that to me, and sometimes you're in a lull, it's just because 'cause you're posting a lot, um,
Yeah,
and sometimes you are this busy, it kind of comes and goes, and then you also feel bad, you see other people coming up with these amazing shots, and you're like, "Why didn't I get that? Like, why doesn't mine look like that?" And it really, like, beats you down, and especially when you're on site, like, you know how it is. I really wish there was something more out there that I could describe, like, I don't wanna, like, whine about it, but how difficult that actually is, I don't think people kind of, like, realize what our timing is like, that it's depending
yeah,
on if you have a news outlet that you're shooting for, or like a brand or something, they want it right away. So you're out there, trying to shoot like my schedule, I think semifinals was we'd wake up, we'd go like meet Ariel or James, and then we'd go on site, you'd shoot. And when you're shooting, for me, like for spin, I have to get essentially who's winning. So like while I'm shooting, I have to be listening to see who's doing well and just to like make sure I get shots of them. But you're also trying to get the shot that's like the most amazing one to share. And then
yeah,
right after it's over, I literally plug it into my phone, I edit on my phone, and I send it off. And you have to try to be first. So you do that
yeah.
all day. And then at the end of the day, we'd go meet one of the athletes again, and then we'd go get dinner with somebody else for some networking. You get home, and then you edit till 4 in the morning. You wake up at 6. It's just,
Oh
it's like
shit!
that for days.
I was gonna
Yeah, I
ask
mean,
you how much
this
sleep you're
time,
getting.
I think Wadapalooza this year was the worst. It was like 3 hours. Semifinals, I got a bit more because I didn't have as many clients to get stuff to that night. Like if I have individual clients, a lot of times I'm getting them like 10 photos a night or a reel a night, and you need to like get that out. But
Yeah.
yeah, we were looking anywhere from like 5 is like I'm killing it. I got 5 hours, and then
Oh
the norm
shit!
is like 3.5.
But how? Okay, that's what I want to talk about as well. Like, how do you function? Because like something that so I started doing that. at first. The first year, I was like full on grind culture, sleep at
Mhm.
3 a.m., wake up at 6, get everything out as quick as possible. Um, and like eating one protein bar a day. That
Yeah.
was like my food, and just like
Yep.
running on 5 monsters or Rain body fuel or whatever.
Whatever's
Um,
free there.
and I'm fine with that because it's just for one weekend, so you can always recover after. But on the other hand, as well, what I found myself slowly starting to do, like at competitions, is like, okay, I get it, we're working, but the athletes are working as well. The outlets we work for are working as well. And I mean,
Mhm.
in a way, we all need our sleep. We like, I don't know, like, and I also found myself like during the days, like functioning and like getting better work out there when I get my sleep and I get my food and everything. Like,
Sure.
I remember like at semifinals, there was a client who was asking me like, "Hey, do you got that shot?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do. I'm eating right now. I'll send it in a bit." I
Mhm.
know it's dangerous because then you can, like some clients, they might be like, "Fuck that guy. We'll get another guy who gets it right away." But you know, what's your view
Yeah,
on that? It's like,
it's like that anytime you run any of that risk. I've had clients, like I set in the contract that it's like you're gonna get your photos at midnight. Like you'll get them before midnight, and it's like 9 p.m. We like especially the games, it goes to like 8 p.m. So you're on site, and they're like, "Hey, have you uploaded them yet?" You're like, "No, I said it'd be in by midnight, and it will be in by midnight." And
yeah,
you kind of have to put those boundaries up occasionally just to like live your life because afterwards, like you have to go get food. Like at
yeah,
some point, it's got to happen. There are definitely the grinder days, and you know when it's going to be like that. And you're like, all right, eat that big breakfast. Let's go. I
yeah.
mean, I keep snacks on me like at all times, and sometimes you run out, and then it sucks. Usually during the lifting events that are
That's
like
smart.
3 hours per. Yeah, or they
That's
melt
so smart.
everywhere.
Because that's my biggest problem. I don't eat. Like I literally
Right.
forget to eat.
Oh yeah, I mean
And
that happens, but
it's just like sometimes you're between event, you got like, okay, male and females are done, teams are only starting an hour, you got a little break, you go outside in the vendor village, and there's like a 1 hour line for a pokeball, and you're
nope.
like, okay, fuck it, I'll go to the freaking food spring stand and get a protein bar, and that's like the
Yeah.
only thing I'll eat. So I gotta get, I gotta get some snack. I don't know, I gotta get
Get
a
some
cargo
snacks.
pants or something.
Well, so I those Noble fanny packs, the like big ones that say like CrossFit Games, you'll see me everywhere with those. Mine's like so faded and so old, but I'm like it's great because it's fat. So like
Yeah.
I can leave like batteries in there, extra SD cards, like stuff like that, and then you'll see like 3 protein bars and then maybe like a baggie of like just carbs like Teddy Grahams or something like that. And then sometimes you run into the athletes and they're super nice. Like I think Luke last time was like, "You guys are working hard. Here's a like fruit snack," and I was like, "Thank you." you know,
Yeah. Yeah, I should
they
do
they
that.
usually have some
Um,
goodies.
just just to finish it off with like the mental health side of things, do you have any mindfulness exercises that helps you stay grounded and brings you perspective in an industry where, I mean, it's so easy to get caught up in it, right? Like, do you have like little things that bring you back to earth?
Yeah, well, I'll be honest, I've been struggling a bit with the burnout factor. That's something I still have not mastered yet of like how to take breaks when necessary. But as
Yeah.
far as, being confident in yourself and what you do, just like you see, like, be like somebody like this person hired me. They hired me for a reason. Like, and then it's tough because I got to do a Formula One event this year, which was like, that
Sick.
was like, it was, yeah, it was a liver reveal. So it was like Cash App's like wrapping of the car. So I got hired to do that event, not like at the actual event itself, which I would still love to do. I'm trying to get into that, but neither here nor there. I did that and then I came home and I look on Instagram and there's a bunch of other stuff. Everyone's doing all these CrossFit things and I'm just like, what have I like I'm not good. And you have to sit there and then sometimes look back on your own work and be like, no, like I got hired by these brands. The stuff that I did was good. You have to be like, I'm good at this. And it's just something you gotta like keep reminding yourself, and you're the only one who's going to be able to say that. So, and doing
Yeah.
what you love really helps, I think. Like, I think if you really don't love this, it's not going to be for you.
Yeah. I completely agree. Give me a second. I just need to plug my computer. I don't know what. There's no battery.
Oh, no.
This battery is running out. Uh, okay. Wait, am I?
But yeah,
Oh,
I was going to say,
yeah.
I don't know if you agree with that. I feel like it's just this grind is not for everybody. It's not easy.
No, no. I think there's, I think there's different types of approaches to media in general. What I see is either people doing it on the side as a hobby, and they have a main job, like they're an affiliate owner or they're doctors or chiropractors or you name it, and they do a bit of photo, a bit of video on the side at some local comps, or if they get a chance to with connections, they'll be at like bigger competitions and stuff like that. But they kind of chill, they don't mind being paid a little bit less, and you know you can
Hmm.
see that they're a little bit more carefree because they got their main job, they've got a main income. But for us, I think to survive, like you say, in our business, it's just like we have to be passionate about it and we have to love what we're doing. And yeah, like it's the same thing when you were like studying design and then you were working it for that gym and then you started realizing you love photography more. You're like, oh
Hmm.
shit, maybe that's what I should pursue.
Yeah, well, I
um,
think it's also kind of important to note, maybe, I'm not sure if it's the same in the UK, it might be, but like CrossFit's not where the money is made, you know?
yeah. So I live in the
Um,
Netherlands. I was just in the
oh
UK
yeah,
for
sorry, just
for
Europe.
work.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said UK.
It's fine. Um, yeah, it's the same. It's. I mean, okay. I often hear this. We talked about it with Josie as well. Like, there's no money in CrossFit. There's no money in CrossFit. I feel if you're a little bit smart about, like, there is money, you just gotta make those connections and you just gotta be at the right spot at the right time. Like, I've just started working with this, like I said, this CrossFit accessory brand. It's called RX Pursuits. They're from the Netherlands and they do like grips and belts and ropes and stuff. And like we just started like a really cool work relationship where they trust me and they're cool with putting the money, and and they don't question my prices. I also have really great
Oh,
relationship with an
that's the
affiliate owner
ideal.
right next to my house. His boss is CrossFit Dom City, and he trusts me every year, like 3 or 4 times a year, to go there and shoot their classes and like promotional content. And he also doesn't question my prices. And of course, like there's moments where like people don't want to put any money and stuff like that. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I just
Yeah.
think you just got to find the balance. But I think what you're doing is great with doing weddings and all the studio stuff on the side. Something I haven't yet. I'm yet to achieve is finding other gigs that are not CrossFit related, because I do have those gaps between like Whatapalooza and semis where I'm just poor as fuck.
I mean, we still all have them anyway. It's just so interesting to hear you talk about, I feel like a lot of people come up in the wedding and like that kind of world. So it's funny to hear you be on the other side where you're like, all right, well, like maybe I'll go into that side, rather than start there and then go to CrossFit. I think
Yeah.
it's kind of funny to hear the difference, because if it were up to me, I think I would like to drop weddings in the long run and do branding. But I think that's also some of my marketing background. My brain kind of works that way.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, like if I'd go do weddings or other stuff, studio stuff, like, or I don't know, fitness or whatever, it wouldn't be necessarily because like, oh my God, I have to do it. It's more like sometimes I just need the cash, and I feel like I could be good at doing like other types of photography. And my thing is, I first started photography and just like media in general with CrossFit. So obviously, if I'm going to branch out, it's going to be to those more traditional things, I
Yeah, it
guess.
makes sense. Hey, well, it's like a
Yeah.
new adventure. It's kind of a fun challenge.
Yeah, man. Like I know this guy from Sweden. He does a lot of like sport, like race cars stuff. I want to get into that. I've been like DMing a few like athletes in bodybuilding. I know Brandon BC Vision. He shoots
Hmm.
that bodybuilder all year round. I think it's really smart to just like do different stuff. I feel like in bodybuilding fitness, like Carlos, he also filmed some strongman, and he
Yeah,
went to like,
Jonathan's doing a bit of that too. And I think it's like super interesting. Like I would be down for that too if there was like I haven't yet gone to Rogue and I want to go because I think just like half strongman, half CrossFit is like so cool. Because there's
well,
still a lot you can do with like fitness.
you're gonna have to travel this year.
I know, I want to. I mean, I've traveled more this year, I think, than I have almost my entire life. Like I leave on Saturday, going to Ariel's house. So we're going to like
Oh,
do some of that and then we're going over to Sprague and then I come back and then it's the games and I think it kind of depends on if I do a couple other events and then sometimes like when I do the Cash App stuff, that's like sometimes more last minute than CrossFit is.
okay.
It's not like the
So
client DMing you 2 weeks before and they're like, "Hey, you free?"
yeah, what's when are you flying to Texas?
For the games.
Yeah.
Well, I was texting Lauren yesterday and we realized that check-in's on Tuesday, not
Yeah, it's
Wednesday.
getting earlier and earlier.
Yeah, but they don't start till Thursday. So like now I'm like, okay, well crap, now I might have to change my flight and come in. I learned for my last Cash Up event that I got one of those flights that was just like, no, like I'm just gonna stay this long. This is how long the client said. And I got that like super cheap flight. And then I was out there and had to abandon that flight and buy another one because they were like, hey, can you stay 2 more days? And I was like, oh, and like it
Oh,
that happens a lot. Like I booked
oh
my flights to
yeah.
the games and I knew it was gonna change.
It's
I've
not like,
changed it
oh,
every
the
year.
prize ceremony is over. Now I can go. Oh, no, wait, they might need me more.
No, because it was the Formula One event thing, and they were like, we went to the race on like Friday, so they were like, okay, so like then can you like stay and shoot this other event that's now only on Saturday? And I was like, yep, okay. And then I was like, well, my
Yeah.
flight's later in the afternoon. They're like, you have an hour, you'll make it. And like, I was like, I'm not gonna make it. And like, of course I didn't. Miami traffic, if you've been there. And so I was like, I had to book a later one. It was just my
Yeah.
life has never been like that. My mom raised me like to the airport 2 hours early and like your flight's your flight. And now I'm like, oh my God, in Knoxville, I was like, it's 5 in the morning. I'll make it like with 45 minutes. I did, but
These-
it wasn't the way to go about it because I got there and there was lines out the wazoo because everybody else's flights got canceled the day before. And I was like, oh,
yeah. I was I saw a story once of Bella Martin, the
hmm,
MC, and
yeah.
she was saying she was just answering a few like Q&As in her story, and she said like, what's like biggest mistake you've done or whatever. Anyway, and she was like, get to the airport early. It is not worth the stress.
No, it's not.
It's not worth the stress.
You
Because
think you
like,
just get like a little bit cocky when you've been traveling so much? Like I
yeah,
fly like 1 to 2 times a month sometimes, and so I'm like, no, like I can do it. And then you get that one super stressful one where I'm standing in line to try to check my bag, and I was like, oh my God, I have like 20 minutes.
yeah. Are you
TSA
gonna try
pre-check
to?
people.
Yeah, exactly. Are you gonna try to? So you're gonna try to head out to Scotland for Rug Invitational?
Yeah, I would like to. We'll see, kind of
I,
how things pan out, but that would be really nice. I know it's really strict with the media, so that's why like I haven't really
so
gotten to that, or it's always my wedding time of year, so I haven't been able to go.
I talked to Josie about Rogue, and he said, well, I don't know how it's gonna be in Scotland, of course, but he was talking about Texas, and he was saying like it is strict without being strict. It's more like, yeah, they don't give like media passes to like a lot of people, but it do allow long lens from seats, and you can rent out a 600, and yeah, you're gonna have to shoot from like further away, or if you buy a seat and get close to the floor, apparently they do allow like 12-inch lenses and stuff like that. So it's apparently Josie told me it's not as bad as you think it is with Rogue. They're just a little bit more like tight knit with like the people that they do allow in. But I think if you get tickets, should be okay. I think like Wodapalooza is more challenging in terms of like
I
access and
think the
stuff
games
in a
this year
way.
is going to be worse from what
Yeah,
I've
who you
heard.
shooting for this year? Brian again or?
So it'll be Brian. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
cool.
like already put mine in, but maybe like a couple athletes themselves. But like as far as I'm aware, it's not gonna be ideal. It's very
Yeah.
different from what I have heard so far. Like I loved having the little spaces on the floor and stuff, and it's not gonna be the same. Like I
Yeah.
like being able to have some space to try to get the shot that nobody sees,
Yeah.
whether that's down on the floor or whatever it is. And I'm not sure that that's going to be able to be the case this year, which is kind of a bummer because it's like half the fun for me.
Yeah, it's gonna be tricky. So I'll be working for another Brian friend.
Oh,
So
nice.
we've also sent out the request to Chris. Still no
Hmm.
reply. What about you?
Yeah, I haven't gotten one either. I saw Hiller
Okay.
got his
In a way,
denial. So I was like, the denials went out. So that was like, maybe that's a good thing because the denials went out.
yeah.
So like, we're good to go.
In a way, it reassures me that you also still haven't got your answer.
Yeah, no, you're
Because
good.
we sent it out with like, Chris was fine with me getting it for with Brian at semifinals for Be Friendly. So like it should be okay. Like if
Yeah.
not,
He's
like I'll
new.
be there
So you're all
anyway.
right. Yeah.
If because I booked my tickets, like I'm staying at the Airbnb with the Be Friendly team, and like so if not, I'll just spectate.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably just like try to bring some other lens. I still have to like rent mine. I just like don't know what to expect, so like I'm not sure what to like rent.
Yeah, I
Like
tried
that's
looking
gonna
at
be the other half
videos
of
of
it.
events in that venue.
Oh,
If you
that's a
type
good
in
idea.
if you type in on YouTube Dickey's Arena, like basketball games or whatever, you can get like a little bit of a view of it. But what I saw in the email that they sent out was that there were no media pits.
Mm-mm. I
It's
know,
gonna
and
be
that's why I'm like, oh boy, we're all gonna have shots of the same angle. Everybody's shots are gonna look exactly the same,
hey, but
or
you know
you'll be
what?
like closer to the end or the beginning. So like then you're gonna have to get really creative with like what looks better.
But yeah, you know what? Like that's what I preach a lot. You got to make that lemonade. Like that's what pushes you to
Yep.
your creativity. You got to get that angle, man.
Yeah, you can't just sit there and be like, oh, well, this sucks, so it's not going to be good. You got to be like, all right,
Yeah,
so like, can I like squat under my seat? Like, how's that?
yeah. To be honest, like I perform well under pressure, and I
Right.
always get really cool shots whenever the conditions are not the best. So like, I got a cool shot of Danielle running back to the platform on the barge at Wodapalooza because that was the only spot where I was. I was like, holy shit, wait, I have a
Wait,
shot
you were
under
like
the
under
stairs.
the barge. You
Yeah.
down on the ground. And I remember I was like, we were all standing there. Like, I think you posted a shot and we were all like, how did he get that? Because like we know all the angles. And then the next day I see you like literally underneath that ramp thing. And I
On
was
the
like,
rocks.
hey,
Yeah,
you were on the rocks.
I was right next to Scott from Mayhem, and I was like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it, dude. Like, I'll just go down there.
Yeah.
And it lasted 10 minutes because then I got kicked out. But in
Yeah.
the end,
Wait, I
what's
have a
the worst that can
question.
happen? Yeah, yeah, go.
Yeah. So if in other creatives in the field, I was like running into this. If you find that spot and somebody else comes and grabs that, does that make you mad or do you feel like flattered that they're
If
trying
I
to like get
find
like the same shot?
if I find an interesting spot,
Not necessarily the angle, because the angle you can do in different spots. Like when we shoot underneath the barriers and stuff, like the first person to get on the floor is not like, that's
yeah.
normal. But like you find a spot like that literally no one's like seen, regardless you get kicked out or not.
Okay, so I have like a first raw reaction and then a quickly self-confidence reaction. So my first raw reaction is like, dude, like we're just gonna get the same shot now. Like,
Yeah.
it's just gonna look the same, like what are you, so I have a first like reaction where it's like, oh, come on. And then I try to like chill for a bit. And then I'm like, you can be in the same spot, but one is going to get a shit shot and the other one is going to get a great shot. And one is going to get a good shot, but edit it like shit. Like,
There's that too.
you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like I've been
Yeah.
in moments like not to brag or anything, but I've been during moments where I get a good like spot and everything, and I get a shot and like same as what you told, like someone comes and like in the same location, and I see their post and I'm like, Yeah, it kind of looks like shit.
Mine
Like
was
mine looks
better.
better. So like
Sorry,
it,
but yeah.
like no, but you got to have that self-confidence at some point, because
Mhm.
especially at these games this year, like we're all going to be in the same spot. So it's all about like, it's also about like when you're in the editing room, like how are you going to make that shot pop? How are you going to make it, and then be creative, maybe use some AI to like get some people out of the shot, or there's ways
Yeah,
now to get creative with stuff. So and our access is our
make it
access, we
yours.
can't change it. So I've created a whole branding around it. Like you got to make that lemonade and embrace the challenge, I think.
Yeah, I mean, make it yours. That's kind of like the best piece of advice I ever got was I used to shoot like engagements and then ask the client how they wanted edited. I'd
Yeah,
be like, "How do you want me to edit this? Do you like it light? Do you like it dark?" And then I found myself being drawn to the dark tones, and somebody was like, "Get really good at your style because people are going to
yeah,
hire you because it looks like that." And some of the biggest compliments I've ever gotten was like, I get people telling me they're like, "Oh my god, your stuff was everywhere, all over the games," and I could tell immediately it was your photo. And I was like, "Oh,"
yeah. I
like
can
that's like
tell.
so cool, and I can tell your style, like even without
Yeah,
looking when it swipes up, you're like, I know exactly who that is.
and there you go. So I think it's not worth like kicking each other in the elbows and like trying to like get the perfect shot or whatever. And yet imperfection will sometimes be what makes the shot cool. um
Hmm.
if you look at what Carly does, like we're talking about the access we'll have this year at the games, but so last year I was in the seats. My
Hmm.
client bought me a ticket, which was great. They bought me like a front row ticket, so I got some great
Sick.
shots.
Probably.
But
Oh yeah, I remember you were on the end too.
finish line.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's
so
better than the media.
I was on all the pictures that you took and all
Yeah,
these guys took, because
I
I'm
know.
just like just there on the
Like
finish line.
hi.
I was
Yeah,
literally photobombing every final finishes. Like it was
you're like,
funny.
gotta make I look good every day. Make sure I look good every day.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
when I was looking at you guys in the media pit, like it kind of looked like you only had one spot as well to kind of get the shot from as well.
the finish
Um,
line shot, sure.
yeah, like in the Coliseum. I mean, I don't know about like North Park, but like but in the end, whenever stuff was posted, you could tell who was posting what. And like, I
Hmm.
think one person that's really great at like making it their own as well is Carly. Like,
Yes.
she'll get the same angle as all of you guys because you're all in the same spot. And, like, she'll create a story around it. She'll add text. She'll do her thing. Like, um, she'll add music to the post as well. Like, there's so many ways now
Yeah,
to be
she's a
creative with
huge
it.
inspiration for me.
Yeah,
And
she's
still to
great.
this day, I look up to her all the time. And I'll just like message her like questions. Same with Victoria. I do the same thing with her too. She's not as at as
I'm
many
terrible
events
with
anymore.
names.
But
Okay.
Vic takes a shot. I think that's her.
Oh
That's like
yeah,
the
like she has like a white thing. And it's like VC or something in black or something.
yeah,
No.
maybe she does a lot more like weddings now, but she was there. She was doing like HWPO for a bit and stuff. So she's similar to like
Oh,
Carly, like that,
okay,
and then she's friends with Carlos. Yeah. So
okay,
like the two of them too, like they're huge inspirations. And Carlos, I love his stuff too. Like all that style, the
yeah,
buttery backgrounds and just capturing
yeah.
emotions and the in-betweens.
I love that we can all be fans of each other. you
Yeah,
know
me
and
too.
and it's how we should be, like, um
Mhm.
because it can get to your head. So yeah, so we're getting to an hour now, but I still have just a few couple of questions. I don't want to take too much of your time as well.
No, you're all right.
I always ask people, what is like a challenge or out of comfort zone thing you'd like to get into in the near future?
I think I would like to try. There's two things. One is in the video realm and one is in the photo realm. The video realm, I would like to try, and I am working on it, something like sort of Netflixy to like try to tell a story that's through like interviews and through just like actual like B-roll and other shots. I think just like getting a story right, you can film it all you want, but to cut it up is another thing, which makes me uncomfortable. But I'm gonna try it. And then photo wise, I want to get better and learn. Like, so I use like on camera flash, like an external flash, but it's attached for weddings and stuff. I want to learn to use it externally
Yeah.
a little bit more. I think I can, like if I was just asked to randomly do it, like if I was asked to drive a manual car, like I could probably fudge it, but it wouldn't go super great. It'd take me a while.
Yeah.
So that's something I think that I would like to like master coming up.
Cool. Awesome. And another question I think is quite interesting. I think is a good question. What do you wish more people knew about you?
Oh, that is a good question. Oh, I don't know. Uh, today, I'm kind of nice. You can say hi, even though I have really bad RBF.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people send photos of me, and I look grouchy as AF. But no, I don't know. I guess it's not necessarily about me, but just about what we do and what we talked about a little bit. Of like sometimes it's hard to you want more credit sometimes for what we do. I don't think people realize how difficult it is to shoot the events. And like I was talking about, like how what you have to think about while things are happening. And like at semifinals this year, I had to in one event in 7 minutes, I had to like film Ariel, but then shoot my clients and then also like shoot stuff for spin all at the same time. And doing that on a protein bar and a rain for however many days. But yeah, I don't know. It's just the grind of things to just give us some grace sometimes.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, and it's not like, you know, fishing for compliments or fishing for whatever. It's just like athletes are there to do a job. They're competing. It's their full-time
Mhm.
jobs. Media, like live stream, is there to do a job and commentate, and like the volunteers is there to do a job. Like we're all here to work, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like we all deserve appreciation in some way. Like you'll always have like Dave or people doing like a little speech, like we want to thank all the volunteers, all that stuff, and like um, and I feel like and it's not that we don't get it. Like often, like we'll get our clients or the athletes or be very appreciative of what we do and everything, but
Yep.
sometimes we do get those unappreciative people or people who think we're just like content machines. Like you press a button and you get a photo, and they don't see like everything that goes behind it.
Yes.
So just to be a little bit gentle. You'll get your
Yeah.
content.
I wish I had like a maybe a better answer for that. There's things people don't know about me and like other things, but like it's not stuff that I even feel like I wish that they knew. It's just more of
Yeah.
things I wish people knew is yeah, like giving creators like some grace. Like, yes, they're all
Yeah.
not going to be winners. And sometimes you're going to have to, like, you have to work with what you got and like don't realize that, like, yeah, that photo might not be the photo, but like, do you know how hard that was to get anyway? Like,
Yeah.
sometimes just like
Also,
that, just to be nice.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Cool. Thank you. Before we finish, I have a rapid fire quiz. So if you want
Oh
to
no.
do that, so it's kind of like this or that. You can
Okay.
give a third answer or decide to not answer at all. But it's pretty simple to be honest.
I thought this was going to be trivia, and I was like, oh no.
No,
I
it's
woke up
rapid
at
fire.
4:30 this morning for a shoot. Please don't do this to me.
It's not a trivia at all. It's a rapid fire. So it's like about
Okay.
like our jobs. Okay,
All right,
so
let's go.
ready? Sony or Canon?
Canon.
Okay, small light kit or big rig with accessories?
Big rig with accessories because I don't have that. I just want to try it. I'm always light.
Yeah. 2470 or 50 mil?
2470.
Horizontal or vertical content?
Vertical. Easy.
Shooting gymnastics or lifting?
Gymnastics because I haven't tried it and I want to try it.
Cool. Local or international comps?
International. Let's go.
Photo or video?
Photo.
Pretty obvious. I would that's a video question, but you do video now. Final Cut or Premiere Pro?
Premiere.
Okay.
For
Manual
sure.
focus
I
or
feel like that should be
autofocus?
DaVinci. Autofocus.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't got time for
Uh,
that.
Media pit access or floor access?
Oh, floor, if you can get it.
Yeah, that's sick, right? Okay,
Yeah,
so
I've never gotten
that's
that.
over. That's the quiz over. But just wanted like on the floor access in December, I was in Dubai for the first time, and again shooting for Brian, and we had floor access, and that
No
was
way.
insane. Yeah,
I almost went to Dubai and I just like the war started and I was like, better not go by
yeah, and
myself.
it's pretty safe to be honest. When you get to the airport, you go straight to your hotel, and then straight from hotel to whatever. Like, I was just also at the South Africa semifinal in Johannesburg.
Mm.
And really cool. I got to shoot for Northern Spirit, the clothing sponsor. And
Yeah, I love them.
but you know, you go straight from hotel to like if you get people to drive you, it's fine. But um Dubai is kind of a bit like anticlimactic. Like access was great. The venue is cool, the tennis stadium that you've seen in documentaries and stuff like that. But I'm not a biggest fan of the city, first of all, and second of all, it's a bit empty. It's getting more empty now. Like it's not as
It was
popular
worse
as it
than
was
West
like
Coast.
yeah, it was not as popular as it was like 3, 4 years ago when like Matt was competing and stuff like that. So it's
Hmm.
yeah. And I think that's like a challenge that like competitions are facing since sanctionals are over. You know, all those comps had like that clout from being a sanctional, and now it's like they're struggling, man.
Well, rapid fire for you, which other type of event do you want to shoot but haven't? CrossFit or not?
Um I really want to shoot music, especially country. So I was at Morgan Wallen and I saw during the whole show a guy with his camera behind him, and not live stream, just like his video maker, like
Oh, and you're
on
like, why not
stage.
me?
And I was with my friend Louis, and I was like, oh man, what I would give to be that guy. Like
Hmm.
because I know with my skills, some of the content I could do for that, like just documentary styles, like music
It
and
like
stuff.
builds in you. You can feel it. You're like, oh, I would kill that so hard.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, my dad, like, he's been in the music industry for 20 years. He works for Universal Music
Oh,
for
oh,
big record label companies. And I was born with like music at the house 24/7. Like I'm always like when I'm cooking, like doing my laundry, whatever, there's always music. So I'm a big music fan, and gotten to be a really big country fan. So yeah, love to shoot country.
cool.
So Morgan Wallen,
Hit me up.
hit me up, or
Hey,
Luke Combs, or whoever.
slide into their DMs or what I didn't realize, which might be helpful, like when I did the something in the water, one of the guys there like got my information and it's the like lighting producers that they also need stuff. So like there's certain companies like this one called Raw Cereal. They like have MGK and stuff like that. And it's like the people who put together like the lighting display and stuff. Like you could probably DM and then maybe like start there too, like it just to me music's different. Like we kind of know the outlets to get into with CrossFit, having doing CrossFit, we know everybody, but music kind of sometimes feels like just this thing that you can't access. But like that was a point where the guy was like, "Oh, I'd love to see your work." And I was like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize that's like a company that like needs that." But
Yeah, yeah, it's scary. You know, I don't know how, when to get it to access or whatever. So
yeah.
it'll be a out of comfort zone thing I'll have to do. But Erin, thank you so much for coming on the show, and for giving me some of your time to answer some questions and have a chat. That's why I want to do this. I'm a big yapper, and you know, I was telling Lauren earlier, like, I'm not gonna lie, I mainly do this because I want to have chats with my friends and catch up.
Yeah, who doesn't? Yeah.
So, you know, I love that people are enthusiastic about it. And yeah, man, I'll see you in Texas, I guess.
Yeah, happy to be on anytime. Thanks for having me.